Hello everyone, so today's class is about the treatment and conditioning of fresh lilies. So normally when you're purchasing lilies wholesale, the minimum you can buy is 10 stems. There's lots of different varieties and I would always recommend look at the oriental varieties. And within that, the variety that I have here is called Alborito. But there's lots of other varieties and they're just as good. I would say look at the photograph of the flower and decide which one you prefer. So the first thing with all flowers is remove the plastic, okay? The plastic is inclined to make the flower sweat. But also what happens is flowers give off a gas called ethylene gas, which is a ripening or a maturing gas. And what happens is the flowers are releasing that gas. It can't escape because it's covered or surrounded by plastic. And what happens is this ripening gas starts to react on the flowers. And first of all you'll find is all the leaves start to go rotten and slimy, and then it actually starts to affect the heads. So make sure you remove the plastic. That definitely helps to prolong the life of the flowers. The next thing you have to do is remove the foliage. And what I would I'm going to cut the elastic band here. What I would recommend everybody to invest in is a stem stripper. We actually sell them here at the school, but part of our module 1, the kit that we send out to all our students, we send them out a stem stripper. So what you do is you grip obviously your hand around it, you're able to run it down, and you can see how easy I can remove the foliage, you see, from the flowers. The old-fashioned way is use your hand, but like you will find again, you get through 10 stems, your hand will be fairly tattered, you know, that way. And in a shop, like you could have maybe 5 or 6 or 10 bunches of lilies to get through, your hand would be ripped to bits. And the thing about a stem stripper, you can use it on your chrysanthemums, you can use it on your roses. To be honest, you can use it on most flowers. The next thing I recommend is have your vase scrupulously clean. As I always say to the students, if you're not going to drink your cup of tea out of the vase, it's not clean enough for the flowers either. I definitely recommend to use flower fill in the water. That helps to stop the bacteria growing, keeps the pH value level in the water, and definitely prolongs the life of the flowers. And for the likes of the lilies that you're needing the heads to open and trying to encourage the heads to open, you will find that the flower food will definitely encourage the heads to open for you. Now when you're purchasing the flowers, okay, the number of heads on the stem will definitely determine the price. So you can see here we have 3 heads per stem. So sometimes when you're purchasing them and they're really, really cheap, well then you probably find you're only getting 1 head on the stem. Or maybe another time of the year you go to purchase them and they're really, really expensive, but maybe you're getting 5 or 6 heads on them. I always find like 3 to 4 is probably average, and it's a good amount of heads to have on the stem, whether it be for a hand-tied bouquet or even for flower arranging. Another item I like to use is if I want to encourage the lilies to open up faster, I use this kind of like hydration solution which is called Quick Dip. The details are all on the back, or the instructions, and what I would say to the student is read them, okay, but just quickly for yourself is you place 2 to 3 centimeters of the Quick Dip in a small container, a shallow container. You recut the ends of your stems, you place them in the Quick Dip for 1 second, that's why it's called Quick Dip, and then you place them in the water. Now normally when I talk about Quick Dip, students kind of think I'm using it to get rid of airlocks in the stem, which I would be with the likes of Germany, gerberas or roses. But really with the likes of lilies, peonies or hydrangeas, I'm using it more as a hydrator, because that's really what it is. It helps the water get up faster. So back to your treatment of flowers. The next thing you have to do is you have to cut at least 1 inch or so off the end of your stems on a slant. The reason why we recommend to cut your flowers on a slant is you open up a bigger hole than if you cut straight across. If you cut straight across, you open a hole that size. Where if you cut on an angle, you can see you open up a bigger hole. The other thing is when you cut stems, they immediately start to suck up water. It's a bit like if I give you a punch in the stomach, you're going to go, oh, and it's the shock and you kind of draw in. Well, that's exactly what happens to our lilies. When we cut the stems, immediately you're going to go, oh, they're going to suck and they're going to draw up the water. Recut the stems every day if possible, especially if you're trying to encourage them to open. If you need to encourage them really fast, I would say cut them every 4 hours. They like a cool room, but not too cold, and definitely away from drafts. If you have them in a warmer room, they will open up faster, but not direct heat. What you will find with the buds, they'll actually singe up the buds and they'll never open. It will take 2 to 3 days for the heads to start to open, but again it depends on what season it is. Are the lilies in season, which will normally be kind of around June, is a great month, so either side, they'll be in season and they'll open up faster. Or if you buy them in the winter time, I'm going to take December and January, where they are definitely out of season. Sometimes you find they're not as good a quality, but you will find they take that little bit longer to open. But when our lilies open, we'll actually start to see the pollen on the stamens. And it's important that the pollen is removed. And again, that will help to prolong the life. I do have another video later on. Make sure you've signed up to our conditioning and treatment flower program, because it's absolutely free. You'll find it on our blog, on our website, www.kaysflowerschool.com. Click on the blog button and scroll down till you find our conditioning program. And throughout that program, I have over 60 different tutorials on the treatment and conditioning of 60 different varieties of flowers and foliage. Obviously, as part of our online professional programs here at Kays Flower School, we supply you with all the fresh flowers, all the fresh foliage, but also all the materials. As part of your pre-recorded tutorials for each of them online programs, you will have a separate tutorial for each conditioning and treatment of the variety of flowers that we send out to you, because that's what we're going to be using as part of the program. When you watch the practical tutorials, okay, whatever the tutor is using in that class, that is exactly what we supply you with. We're not a school that work with roses and then give you chrysanthemums and expect you to turn out the same arrangement. Obviously that's impossible, and you're not going to achieve the standard or the completed arrangement that we're trying to teach. If you have any questions on any of our commercial training courses here at Kays Flower School, drop me an email, info@kaysflowerschool.com.